Hello. My name is Kevin Gipson. This is my wife, Marlene Gibson. And I want to share my story about the aortic dissection I had on March the 28th. That totally changed my life and it got me living a new reality this day. Um, on March 28th, it was just a normal day. We got up early to go to work. We just started going back to work because we were working from home. I currently am a stockbroker at Charles Schwab. So I made my cup of coffee and I got in my truck. Then I drove to work. You know, it's Saturday. I do smoke cigars, so I'm smoking a cigar on the way to work. Then when I got to work, normally they get you another cup of coffee. Then around break time, I had to use the bathroom. And then when I got up to use the bathroom, it's like my whole body started shaking and like it was just a vibration and I couldn't walk, I couldn't move my legs. So I sat down and I gathered myself and I was like, Kevin, you can go to the bathroom, but something is not right. So I kind of gathered myself. Then I made it to the bathroom. I used the bathroom. I came back. It was still kind of shaky. So the first thing that I did is I called my wife. I said, baby, something is not right. I'm about to go home, but I'm not feeling well. And then I called my manager, told him what was going on. I told me just go home. And then on my way home, I let my truck windows down. I'm driving home, and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I'm just gonna stop by the hospital just to have them take a look at me. But as I was driving home, I started to feel better. So then I still went on and went to the Arlington Hospital. It's like Arlington is a suburb outside of Dallas, Texas. Then I went into there. I let the doctors know and the nurses know the symptoms I was having. Then they ran some tests on me. Then she said she wanted to do a CT scan and she did some X-rays. And then that's when everything changed. She told me to, hey, you need to call your wife immediately. We don't have a doctor here, but you have to have an emergency surgery. So I'm be honest with you, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm like a emergency with you got to have a. She told me I had an aortic dissection. She showed me what was going on, but I've never heard of that, and that was the first time in my life I ever heard of anything about an aortic dissection. And then she was telling me I had to have a heart surgery. I had to have open heart surgery. It threw me for a loop, and I just told her, I said we need to get a second opinion. We just can't go by, your opinion. So I called my wife. My wife rushed to the hospital. And then I was telling my wife the same situation about the heart surgery. And she was like, Kevin, they're not gonna tell you something that you shouldn't get done. They know what they're doing. They're the doctors. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to go ahead and do it. But I was terrified because I never heard of it. Then I'm just going on a whim. So they put me in an ambulance. And like I said, I'm claustrophobic as well. So I told the ambulance people, because I was feeling fine. So I just said, let me just sit up on the ambulance. And we talked all the way. And they were telling me that they've seen this before. They've seen people have these procedures. And I was like, I've never heard of it. They got me hooked up to all the EKG and all that stuff. And so they rushed me from Arlington to a hospital in Dallas. Was in the hospital?
Presbyterian.
Yeah, Presbyterian Hospital with Dr. Leal, Dr. Chasmadine, and Dr. Diaz, who did the surgeries. So when I got out there, it was a long drive. I was, almost in tears, and because I just couldn't believe this was happening to me. So when I got to the hospital, they just took me to the operating room, and I can show my age. It was kind of reminding me of Trapper John MD with those three big lights, and that's the last thing that I remember. And the anesthesia, she was like, I don't know if that was anesthesia, but she was like, "Do you want to be what's the word they want?
Resuscitated.
Resuscitated. Do you want to be resuscitated?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to be resuscitated." Then, and next like that, I was out. They said the surgery took about 5 to 6 hours, and then I woke up. I woke up in the ICU, and then on I wasn't in a lot of pain. I guess because I was on a lot of the medication and the drugs and stuff from the surgery. But then the first day was fine. Then on the second day, I kind of lost.
Coherent.
I wasn't coherent. I could hear them talking to me. I really could hear them, but I couldn't speak. My eyes were open, and and it was like, Kevin, are you in there? Are you in there? I remember the nurse kept saying that. And my wife was talking to him. I could see him, but I was like in a wonderland. I was like in Alice in Wonderland. I remember it was I don't know if these were dreams or I was actually in another dimension. I was trying to get back, and I had people coming to get me, and we was jumping over, like it was like a little fantasy world that I was in. And then then they took me to do another CT scan because they thought I had a stroke because I wasn't responding. Then you can hear me right here.
Yeah. They had to put him back on the breathing machine, restrain him because he wouldn't. He was trying to pull the breathing tube out. So, but he wasn't responding on it about the third day of the after the surgery. So they couldn't figure out what was going on. So they thought he was having a stroke. They took him back to get a CT scan and check brain waves and all that kind of stuff to make sure he wasn't having a stroke. At that time, he was not having a stroke, but the pressure from, they had told us that after about 6 weeks out or something, that he would have to have another surgery to have another stent put in through the groin area. But then they had to do it then because they had to relieve some pressure from the first surgery that they did. So they ended up doing it right, like
on the third day.
Third day, yeah. He was still in the ICU. He stayed in the ICU for 13 days, but because he needed to get that second surgery. So after the 3 days after the first surgery, I would say he had to get the second surgery. Then after the second surgery, he kind of like was back to himself up and
Yeah, that's when I kind of bounced back. But I think after having that surgery, when you go back and read about it, say like I wasn't the best patient, so I had to, when I go in and do my checkup, because they say I was cursing doctors out, I was just mean to everybody. But my wife, she stayed with me the whole time just to make sure I, acted accordingly. But I was in a lot of pain. Then when first it was just a piece of tape, so you really couldn't see it, but you knew that you had that surgery. And you just, you think about it, you just, nothing you knew but just cry sometimes. But then my wife, as we was in there, she was like, this after we got home. So she told me, go online and go on Facebook to see if you can find a group or something like a private group. And I found that the survivors of aortic dissection. And then within that, I found our aortic hope. And so by me finding this platform, it helped me out mentally. Because like when you go into, like the lady that was on last week, I felt the same way. She's like, when she go to the grocery store, you be scared. You be like, I don't want to fall out in the grocery store. You get dizzy, and it helped you get control over your mind by just hearing that other people going through the same situation. So I appreciate the platform, and I appreciate y'all letting me share my story. But let me get back to after the ICU. It was about, because that was the worst thing for me, having that breathing tube down my throat. It was just painful. And it was at one time I didn't know I couldn't walk. So but once I was able to take that tube out, I remember it's a funny story I want to share with. I called my two sons, my oldest son, they 29 and 25. And I was like, man, y'all gotta come get me right now. Y'all get my sweats, get my shoes. Y'all come get me, because they trying to, I just feel like they was trying to kill me. And I was like, they trying to kill me. Then they came out there, they was just crying because they was like, Dad, you can't even walk. I don't know what you gonna do. But I didn't know I couldn't walk. So that plan didn't work then. But as the days go on, they moved from the ICU to a regular hospital room, and I just started the day by day recovery.
And then you went to a rehab after that.
And then after that, I went to a rehab center for 2 weeks. I stayed there for 2 weeks, in which they showed me how to clean my wound. They had to teach me how to walk. They teach me how to get in a car. It was just a bunch of stuff that I didn't know that I couldn't do at the time. But I thought I could do everything. I thought everything was fine. But the whole ordeal is, I'm right now, I'm at the point where I'm happy it happened, because it's making me face a lot of things that I probably didn't face, I kind of overlooked. Like the main thing was just fear, just overcoming fear for me right now. So I'm battling it every day, and I'm trying to do my best to just not be scared of anything. So now I'm able just to go and train my mind just to block things out. If something's going to happen, it's happening. It's going to happen because your mind, it can be very powerful, and I don't want to think stuff on me, think bad things on me. But I did, like I had a couple of incidents that I've been praying about. I had that schematic with the eye where I lost vision in one of my eye, but it only lasted for about a minute. And I was doing my cardiac rehab. I was on the treadmill, then my eye it went like went to a channel, then it just cut off. And then I'm like, damn, like what's going? And then it came back on. Then it happened again when I was at home and did it, but I haven't had an incident since. So knock on wood on that one. And I went to the eye doctor, and he checked my eyes out. He just told me what it was, um, and I went back to my cardiologist where he did blood tests to check my blood flow to make sure everything was going good. But which everything checked out by doing the test for the blood flow. What was that called? You remember?
Electro.
The echo. That's what it was. The echo. They did the echo. And then I still been having pain from when the lung heart machine was at. So I went back to the doctor again, and he had me do a nuclear stress test, in which I was able to get up to 85% of that, and I did well on that. But I still had that pain, so I'm gonna go see another doctor next week because I got to get my next CT scan. But I did have to go back after they did the second surgery. I had to go, you go back and do a CT scan, and that was March. That was in March. So, but then when I did the last CT scan, they found the leak. So I was like, Lord, what's gonna be next? So I had to go have another. They did a TAVR, so they had to go and do a TAVR and fix it. They fixed that. It was with because I had a type A dissection and I had a type B. So like I got like metal all the way down and I got stents going into my kidneys. That's what my cardiologist told me. He said, so he said that's why my chest be feeling so heavy because I got a lot of metal in me. But then they fixed the leak. Dr. Tasman fixed the leak. And then I had another incident, because that's what I'm saying. I'm facing all my fears. So I had a pain in my side one day on a Sunday, and I came up and checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure went up to 200 over something, but I knew it was because of the pain, but I was just still scared. So I rushed to the hospital. My wife took me to the hospital, and then they did another CT scan. And then this was the day the Cowboys played the Saints because we were supposed to go to the game the day before that. And then the doctor told me I had another leak. I was like, I just, you just don't want to hear that. But you want to go to the doctor, get checked out, but you want to make sure everything is okay. But come to find out, she just wasn't really experienced in looking at the leaks. So when my main surgeon looked at Dr. Leah, he said everything. It is a leak, but he said it was normal. Because it wasn't gonna be perfect, but he said not to worry about it. I really shouldn't. They said I shouldn't have brought me out. They put me in another ambulance and brought me out there again. But he said that shouldn't happen, and he apologized for that. Because they just never. They weren't. It was a hospital that they weren't used to seeing that procedure done. So that was like I was in the hospital. I wasn't upset. I was just happy that okay, it was a leak, but it was okay. And then I talked to all my doctors, and then I've been passing. So far now, I've been passing all my tests. So hopefully when I go back next Friday to do another CT scan, everything still checks out. But the main thing is right now that I'm like where I got 3 boys and my wife right here. She's been the best thing. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her and my mother. Because when I got the other rib, I stayed with my mom for about 2 weeks because my wife had to work. But if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. And I really looked at them. They are angels that stood by me, nurtured me the whole time, all my whole family. And for me, that's all I really need right now, just my immediate family. And I love interacting with people, and I love hearing people share their stories. So that's why I wanted to share mine. And I'm trying to think of anything else. But let me get back to like the rehab part. I did good on the cardiac rehab. And excuse me if I'm rambling, but that's how I am sometimes. I'm trying to gather all my thoughts. But on the rehab, I did good. So I walk about a mile a day. I can't run like I used to, because I used to run like a mile, then I walk 3 miles. But when I look at this incident, it was an incident that happened 2 years ago, where when I had a sharp pain in my back. So in my mind now, I can see I was dissecting then. Cause I had a sharp pain where I broke down. I thought it was for me lifting some furniture earlier that day, but I went to the hospital that day, but they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I was in the hospital, and then the pain will come, and then you lock your whole body up, and then it'll go away. It'll come, but they couldn't figure out what was going on. But at that time, they didn't run a CT scan on me. So I just went home, and just God blessed me just to live another 2 years. And then then I was able to, when it's dissecting again, so I was able to notice it, and I was able to get it repaired. So that's the main thing. That's just my theory. I don't know if that's true because I didn't have the CT scan, but the pain that I felt then, that's a pain that I've never felt in my life before. But it just went away. And then another incident I looked at my doctor's records because everything's online now. Every time I went to the doctor, I had high blood pressure. My blood pressure was like 180 over 100 and something every time that I went to the doctor. So I was on blood pressure medicine, but I'm just gonna be honest, I was not. I was taking the medicine, but I wasn't taking it like I should have taken it every day. I might miss a week and start. If I feel bad, I'll take a pill, but I didn't take it serious. And I think with that and just drinking, stress, and smoking, I think that just it took a toll on me. But like I said, I'm still here, um, and that's pretty much it on my situation. But like right now, I have a little back pain, um, little pain in my legs sometimes. My feet get numb, but other than that, I'm good, man. I'm thankful, and that's the one thing I've started doing now. I meditate, and I just tell God thank you every day. Every time if I wake up in the middle of the night, I just say thank you. And thanks for just I'm done. Thanks for listening to my story.
That is a great story, Kevin.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. If I was all over the place, forgive me.
No,
I
no,
was
not at all.
but it was
Not
a
at
lot.
all. It's good. It's good. Let's start with saying hi to some of the people in chat here. We've got Velda and Tom. Ken's ringing in from Brisbane, Australia. So he's tomorrow. He's in tomorrow.
Okay.
Everybody's saying hi. And then Mike DC here says, I had an open heart surgery for my aorta. You reminded me of some challenging days. Good luck, buddy.
Oh, Tim, thank
Right?
you.
Yeah, yeah. So, so this happened to you in March, correct?
Yeah, yeah. March 28th.
Okay, and so you're looking at
Not a year yet.
almost 9 months, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. How often or have they decided to make any changes to your meds since you've been on recovery?
Um. Well, actually, on the meds,
Hmm.
I've been doing the medications. They had me on like three. I was on one blood pressure medicine before the incident. Then after the incident, they had me on like three different I was about 12 medicines, and it was just too much.
Okay.
You know,
And
you
come off some of them like the Eliquis and blood thinner and
like I was like right now I'm on I got the amlodipine. Um, what's
I
the
think you're on like three different ones.
Yeah, I'm on two blood pressure medicine right now. And that's it.
Okay.
And I got down because I was on three, but I was too dizzy. It had me. I couldn't do anything.
Okay. So you kept your valve. Its valve wasn't replaced with anything.
Yeah, but no, I had the whole. I think the top part, all
Hmm.
of that was on the A dot section.
Okay.
Then I had the thoracic where it went all the way down. I know he saw it, and I had the two stents going into my kidneys.
Yeah. Okay.
That was when they had to go in and adjust.
What about beta blockers? Do they have you on beta blockers?
Yes, that's the. I'm honest, I can't remember the name.
Metoprolol or Libibolol
Oh,
or
it's the Corbetadol.
okay, yeah, it's a lol. That's how we know it's a beta blocker.
Yeah, I'm on Corbetadol. Then I got the amlodipine, and I stopped taking there's another one on here too. It was another one, but I stopped taking that because I was too dizzy.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could barely move. It was just
So
hard
your
for me to
blood
get out
pressure
of
was
bed.
too low.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
was just when I was walking, I feel like I feel faint and like I was just really dizzy and everything.
That's good. So, cardiac rehab, you said you did pretty good there. How long after the surgery before you got charged into cardiac rehab?
Um,
You mean how long after he was like in the ICU for like 13 days, then on the regular floor for like
it was
maybe
in June. I started in June.
what?
The cardiac rehab started in June
Oh,
because I did the TAVR first. I had to go back to the TAVR.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And right after they did the TAVR, they let me heal up a little bit. Then I started. I did the TAVR on May the 24th.
Okay.
Then after the TAVR, I went and started the cardiac rehab.
Okay. Velda says, "Thanks, Kevin. You did a great job." Mike, yeah, yeah. Mike says, "Your story, Kevin, is important for a lot of us and the loved ones to understand our situation. Thank you very much." I agree with that. So one of the things that I get to witness inside of the support groups is the amount of isolation that the patient, that would be you, that goes through. It's hard to explain to people what happened to you. You don't look like you have anything wrong, and yet your energy levels are all over the place. Some days are good energy days, some days are low energy days. But also, as she walks off, the caregivers.
I was going to get some water.
It's okay. The caregivers also have that same kind of isolation because, you know, you talk to somebody about an aortic dissection and they're like, "What now? Like, what are you talking about?" And then they're not going to retain it. And so, then you start hearing, the family members, "Hey, is your husband going to get any better? How long is this going to go on? Is he playing?" And you have to be ready for that siege of doubt because they just don't understand. And so I also get to see some people, they're very shaken by the incident, very shaken. And they show up into the support groups and they have like the color is gone in their face. They're very mousy to express themselves. But when anybody starts to say something that resonates with them, you start to see them go, "Yeah, like I'm not making this up. That's a thing." Yeah. And even in your story, when you're talking about the hallucinations, right? That's called ICU psychosis, and that happens to a great many people. And we have some pretty interesting stories with this. I'll just name a few here. One of them was very much like you when you called your sons, "They trying to kill me." Right? This guy called his wife in the middle of the night. He's like, "It's time. You have to break me out of here." And she's like, you need to stay there." One other girl, she thought she was on a game show, and the water sprinkler in the ceiling, she thought that was the trigger to win the game. So she flooded 3 rooms, and she's pretty popular when they come back. But I mean, everybody's just kind of like, that happens sometimes. And so it's interesting that it's, for some people, it's a conspiracy, it's a spy thriller, it's these doctors are harvesting organs, and for other people, it's a game show. You just never know where we're gonna go with this. But it's wonderful to see that you're in good spirits. It's wonderful to see that you're just smiling and happy, even 9 months out. What about sleep? Is sleep a hard thing to come by for you?
No, I mean I sleep like a baby.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
I sleep like a baby. I mean I haven't had any problems with sleep.
Okay.
But it helps me because I put myself in like the Avatar movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say when I'm sleeping, I know my body is healing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know it, and I feel, even though sometimes I feel bad during the day, I'll go take a nap, and then I know sometimes you just need some rest.
Yeah.
You're trying to stay up, sometimes you guys just take a nap and get some sleep, and then you wake up, you feel a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, this platform it's amazing because when I first found out about it, I just went back and watched all the stories. Just sit there and just watch them, and it was hard. I could sit there and watch that stuff for days, and it just I'm like, damn, it's gonna help me. It's gonna really help me because I was mentally, I was mentally just shook up because I mean one time my zipper I had a little started bleeding. I thought my body was about to fall apart. I just started crying because I didn't like it. It's just something supposed to be bleeding. I thought it was just gonna come apart, but my mom, she was like, just wipe it up, it'll be all right. And I was like, okay. I gotta toughen up, I guess. I was in shambles, man. That's one thing I do now. Listen like that, I can just cry and I'll be okay. I look at my wife and just cry, and then I can she'll understand. But she think I'm real dramatic. I am dramatic because even when I'm taking my blood pressure, I'm taking deep breaths. I'm trying to get the best blood pressure as possible every time. But
that's funny.
My wife, she never smoked or drink or anything. So she take her blood pressure as 120/80. I'd be so every time. So now, mine is better, but mine is up and down. Sometimes it be 106 and sometimes it's 150. But it's I got control of it. So I know, but this has really helped me learn the inside of my body because that's the fear you have because you can hear everything that's going on in your body. You hear you can hear tings and pings that hit inside of your body. Then you just got I look at it now like, hey man, my body just healing. Nothing's wrong. So if I'm gonna fall out and God forbid something happens, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like I kind of cheated death a little bit because I had a taste of what it might feel like, and sometimes you feel that wobbly. You be like, oh, I hope it's not it. But that's what I've been really mainly working on, just getting it out of my mind, and just peace, be still, and just let everything just stay calm.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, what happened to you isn't the thing that's going to take you, right?
Yeah.
Like the scary thing is how many people are walking around with an aneurysm and don't know it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the scary thing. You've already had 2 surgeries at this point, and like going into the second surgery, it's not an emergency surgery. It's a different stress, right? Because like in an emergency situation, they're like, hey, you need to call your wife, and we're going to be sending you to another hospital. And you're like, what's going on? I'm going to get a second opinion. And they're like, no, you're not. There's no time. Right. And so, but when you're going to a planned surgery, you still have the anxiety. You're riding in there with how long it took you to come through the first one, right? And how many more complications are going to come from that. But after they fix that second leak, and when's your next scan? You said next Friday?
Yeah, on the 13th, next Friday.
Right. And so, we're looking for the check mark, nominal, all things are normal, right? That's what we're hoping for.
They use unremarkable. That's what they saying.
Is that what they say?
So that's what I know how to read. I read them all now.
Okay. All right. I like the word unremarkable. That's a good thing. So one thing that I can share with you, the sense of adventure, right? For some people, like that sense of adventure, it takes a while to come back. For some people, it's like 3 years, and it's more about, you're going to be healing, and then there's going to be extra healing. Then there's going to be med changes if the med changes come in. And that's another weird one. You'll be on the meds that you're on now for 12, 15 years. And then out of nowhere, whatever med is there will have to be changed. Right. And so then that's a whole process. And, the Therapeutic Thursday gentleman, John Quick, he just went through this like a month ago. He's been on the same medication for 16 years, 17 years. He's coming up on his 18th year for post-dissection, the whole 9. And they're like, your blood pressure's all over the place. And, now out of nowhere, he's like, what do you mean my blood pressure's doing what? What are you talking about? And the anxiety ramps up and all of the fear comes in. But it's the worst thing that you can do is indulge in that fear. The worst thing you can do is think that, oh no, this is going to happen. So I love this. I love that you're saying things like, you know what? It's just healing. That's all that I'm feeling. I'm feeling healing. And I love that. That's such a great message to take away with. Other than these standard questions, which for me is usually medication changes, And for me, sleep is very important, right? It is what you said. It's the most important part is when you're sleeping, you're healing the most effectively. Did you go back to work already?
I started this past Monday.
Okay, so that's 8 months. 8 months, right? We
Yeah,
just did the math. How are you feeling at
yeah.
work?
Well, I didn't do anything this week. They just told me to catch up on my emails, but I'm able to work from home.
Okay.
So they said work at home for the next year, as long as I need to.
Yeah.
So I won't be under stress. But if I want to go in the office, I can. But I'm just gonna work from home.
Sure.
Yeah, because
Um,
I'm the
so the concentration factor comes into play,
yeah.
right? And like, if anybody would give you any advice in the community, it would be careful of going back to work too early. And then if you are going to go back to work early, manage expectations and be very open with the people that you work with and say things like, I might be good for 4 to 6 hours on some days. That's just how it goes. Right.
Yeah.
And so you're getting kind of a window into what the rest of this ride is going to look like, where some days you need to take a nap. And that's a lot in that first year. Uh, into the second year, you may not need the nap, but you may need to lie down. You're not going to go to sleep, but you just kind of need to rest, and you'll feel the recharge come up, and then you'll bounce back and go back to doing what you're doing. But like you said, sometimes you just need that rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have the main, like, I don't, that's why I want to, when I go back to the doctor next week, but I just have the pain where that lung and heart machine is like my shoulder's real tight right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading something about, like, I don't know if I even want to make sure it's not my heart or anything. The angina, but I think it's just my shoulder and my muscles tight.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a pain in my back, sometimes in the middle of my back. But that my cardiologist said that's kind of because I got a long piece of metal inside of me, so it's gonna be like this sometimes.
Yeah, we've heard reports about frozen shoulder from the surgery, and that can last a little while, depending on how they had you laid out, right? So it's like, I mean, they put it out of the way, you know what I mean? But you're pliable at that point, and you don't feel the pull, you don't feel the pressure, what have you. We've heard of people that had the knots in the back post the surgery, and they do something called dry needling, which is it's against everything we've ever learned in science. They're gonna stab you with a needle, and then they're gonna run electricity into it, right? And so what it does is it resets the muscle. That's all it's for. So they're gonna find the knot, and they're just gonna reset the muscle, and the pain is alleviated immediately. It's crazy how that works. And it's not a big giant jolt or anything. The whole thing takes just a few minutes to do. But you're like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And we've heard some of that. Yeah.
Another thing that I have problems with is I think it's my lungs. Like, say if I bend over,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm bent over and I'm cleaning the tub, my nose will get stopped up immediately. Then if I stand back, it'll go away. It'll go away. Like when I bend over sometimes, or if I'm laying down. I think for me being on that machine,
Could be.
that's on. But it goes and comes. So that stays. Like sometimes I might can't go to sleep real quick because my nose gets stopped up.
Yeah.
Then it just goes away. I thought it was from the medications, but my doctor said it wasn't the medications. But I started using this thing again at the
Yeah.
just to try to help, because I didn't take this serious even when I got home, and this is important. So I think this would have helped me out a lot.
Yeah. Lung power for sure. For
I
sure.
breathe on, just to kind of help.
Let me see.
I'm healing.
When when you mentioned your exercise routine, before you would run a mile and then walk 3, now you're walking a mile a day. Do you do this in the morning? Are you doing this in the afternoon?
Just whenever I get up, because my mother stays about a half a mile away. So if I walk to her house and walk back, it'll be about a mile.
Okay.
Or I go up to the junior college, they got a track in the back, and me and my neighbor will go up there and walk.
Nice.
And it's a coincidence. My neighbor that's around the corner, Mike, he works in an ER, operating room at another hospital. So he knew my Dr. Leah, because he said he trained at his hospital.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he keep telling me he was trained by the best, because he feels that they have the best surgeons over there. But that was pretty cool, because he always asks, every time I see him, you okay? Everything is okay? I'm like, yeah, it's cool, man. Everything's fine. You need to take it easy. Take it slow.
Yeah.
You had a serious surgery. Cause he be. I said, thank you, I appreciate it, but I'm feeling I have to get out and do some type of exercise.
Yeah, see, this to me, this is like a man thing. I have to be honest. We have people that keep doing this. uh, Ken says, "Thank goodness for strong women. My wife saved me and stood by me no matter what happened. Thank you both for sharing your story." And he's right. Ken's also got one of those angels on earth.
Yeah,
Um,
bless.
what, what was I saying before I saw that? Mm, oh, I hate it when my thoughts just leave like that. That's the worst.
It's good. So
Oh, that's right. He said to take it easy. Okay. And this is
yeah.
one of those things. Like this is the advice as somebody who's I'm just a producer. But I take in the support groups, and I'm always very interested in watching how the men respond to being told to take it easy because they don't. They just don't. We never do. We're always like we're getting at it. That's what we're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
But when I do give advice, I always say these things. I say, if you were taking care of somebody who had this, you would be all over them. Like, don't do that. Relax. Sit back. You know, we're going to get your exercise in, but just for now, relax. And you would give them all the grace in the world. And you want to do
Yeah.
that for yourself. And it's the
Yeah.
hardest thing to do is to give yourself the grace to just heal and take as much time as you could possibly take. Just get healed up and be prepared for the weirdness of this next everything. Everything's going to be weird. Period.
It is.
Right? Were you a were you an adrenaline junkie by chance? Did you go like skydiving or deep sea fishing or anything
Oh
like
no.
that? No, right? So that's a good thing. The reason why I bring up the sense of adventure and the 3 year mark, you know, we have people that at the third year they go walk up a mountain, they go jumping out of a plane, like
Oh wow.
they just they're like this is the one chance I have, and you know this thing happened, and now I can take advantage, right? Like let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people they just do all kinds of crazy things, right?
Wow.
We have what was it? Just a couple months ago, we had a gentleman who's an 80-year-old Ironman triathlete.
Oh, I think I seen him.
Yeah, right. And out of
Yeah.
nowhere, this guy's like, "No, I want this fixed." And then he starts googling around how many people have done an Ironman triathlon after an aortic dissection. I'll be the first.
Yeah, I seen that. I remember watching that. That
Ah,
was pretty. Yeah, I'm not ready for that. But I'm taking it slow. I'm taking it slow, but I gotta move a little bit.
now I want you to move. I want you to walk.
And that's the one thing now. My wife, when we go walking, if I go walking with her, she'll end up lapping me, and I really that hurts.
That hurts.
They be
That,
everybody walking and just lapping me. I be walking so slow. I
yeah.
got my old man walk now.
Oh, you get to practice. So the other thing that I hear from the guy side is that sense of vulnerability that we never had before, right? I can't remember what gentleman said it, but he was like, you know, now when I see a teenager, I know that teenager can just rock me over, and there's very little I can do about it. And he's like, and I never thought about a teenager before. I slap a teenager down. And I'm like, yeah, it's a different life now. And so I don't think about that because again, you know, producer. But
Yeah,
to see that and to hear that is to really understand how very different life is in the next stage.
it is.
So, you know, thank all the gods you have 3 kids.
Oh yeah,
Right?
man. Yeah, that's what they were there because they was discussing that when that Tyson fought a couple of weeks ago when he
Oh,
fought. And
Jake
then that was
Paul?
like, they was like, yeah, Jake Paul. And we was at my wife's friend house. She's like, and one of the guys asked me, say, you wouldn't let a young guy beat you? I said, I can't fight a they didn't know I had a surgery. I was like, no, I wouldn't fight him. I can't do that anymore. They probably
Yeah.
would. I can't. I'll be scared somebody hit me in my chest. I'm done. I'm just hoping to stay alive. Somebody hit me in my chest.
Yeah. Oh, no, God gracious now. Mike says, with the Marfan syndrome, to be tired is normal. Back pain is also normal. Something is very hard to know if what you feel is related to surgery or other pathologies. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Mike. Um, you hear people being afraid to sneeze. You hear people being afraid to like anything, hiccups or what have you, but mostly falling. All of these things become very big fears. Um, there was a gentleman who used to head up the support groups, and he was like, "What you want to do is you want to go. Is that muscular? Is that skeletal? Like you really want to find out what the pain is, what's the triggering of the pain, and quite often, once you've located where the pain really is, it's almost like your brain was like, I just wanted you to know about it, and then the pain goes away, and you're like, all right, well, thanks, you know."
Good to know.
Yeah, so that's a weird one. It's a weird one, but he was very good at what he did. Um, mm-mm-mm. So, what about testing the children? Because this is another thing that we do. Aortic Hope is partnered with an organization called Think Aorta US, and their biggest campaign is Think Aorta, Think Family. And the most important thing is it's irrelevant that there are test results. It's that the test was taken care of.
Yeah, I'm gonna have them look into it. But right now, I've been just talking to them about their foods and
Blood pressure.
them. Yeah, make sure they check them. I want them to stop drinking and stop smoking too, because I don't want them to take on any of the bad habits that I had. Because it's not. If you want to study I gotta tell them, if you want to study the unknown, you study the known. So you gotta kind of look at what happened to me, and this could be on your plate too. So you gotta think twice about doing it. It's not really, you know what I'm saying? Just don't overdo it.
Yeah, don't overdo it. Yeah, the undiagnosed high blood pressure, or like you were saying, even the diagnosed high blood pressure, but not staying on top of it. I mean, we don't really know, but that's a thing, right? And so, like I was saying earlier, we don't know how many people are walking around with an aneurysm, much less people that are walking around with undiagnosed high blood pressure.
Yeah, that's a silent killer too.
Mm-hmm.
But then aneurysm, this has been game changing, man. But like I say, like you mentioned last time, you got to just go with it, man. Every day is a good day. You got to just try to treat it like that because you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
Just be thankful.
Like I said at the end of the story, you lived. It's a good story.
You live. We just went to Baton Rouge for Thanksgiving, so I was able to drive. That was my first time driving in the car for about 6 hours.
How'd that feel?
Oh, it felt pretty good. It wasn't bad. No, I just rode my son. Not my son, they drove, and my wife drove. But my mother-in-law treated me so good. She never treated me this nice. She gave me the king bed, and she waited on me hand and foot. I said, I wasn't getting this treatment at home.
Oh, wow. Now you're trying to get us all in trouble. Thanks, man.
Yeah, so it's been good, man. I had a good holiday, so ready for Christmas and just to keep going. I'm ready for my dad. I love the anniversaries, the aortic anniversaries.
Anniversaries, yeah. March coming up, man.
You seeing people 6 years, 7 years, I'd be like, yes, there's hope. Those some good feelings.
The longest survivor that I know of dissected in 1996.
Wow, that's long. That's good.
Yeah.
So you just had that one? Did they have more than one surgery?
I'm not too sure about the rest of that story. I just know that he had the one, and he went back to carpentering, I believe. It was one of the ladies in the caregiver group. Because again, this is the thing about us guys. We don't sign up for support groups, right? So we have a caregiver group, and very often the spouses of the patients show up to the caregiver group, or they sign up for the support group, and they take all the information down and they run this by, their husband or spouse or what have you. But the guys are just like, no, this happened. I'm fine. And that's just how they're going to deal with it. I'm fine. It's fine. Let's just put it behind us and let's move on. And he was that way. But in 1996, after he had his dissection, and I believe he had a type A and type B, he was young, right? Because he was young when it happened, and he still had to get back to work. And so after he went through all the trials and tribulations, he went back to work, and I guess he dialed down the carpentering and hired more people or what have you. Mm-hmm. And so, that's, blessings there. Cause if you have the ability to hire people to do your stuff, that's a wonderful tool to have,
It is.
But 96, back then, like when you think about where we are today, like the surgeries that you underwent, those are all 10, 15 years old. Like that's where we're at. and we're still plowing further into the future to get better and better and more, more effective surgeries, more effective therapies. Um, the future looks good. The awareness is another crazy one. When we rolled on to Think Aorta, like we found out that the reason why we got involved with them in the first place is that over in the UK they have a system that their entire organization or their country people are on. And so when the gentleman that started it, Gareth, he was like, it would be very nice if we had posters in the emergency room area so that when people have this situation coming in, you don't just ignore it because it's not a heart attack. They test for a heart attack. It's not a stroke. They test for a stroke. It's not anxiety or gas, but they send people home. Terrible ideas. Run a CT scan. That's the whole point. Like if you're not sure, when in doubt, run a CT scan. And because of that campaign, they started to see more and more life-saving surgeries coming up because they were testing it right away. They were like, let's just take that CT scan. 15 minutes later, we know what's going on. So, those numbers are good. Those are great things. They're saving more lives. They're getting more people help. And so we jump onto that bandwagon and we want to go along with it. Several other countries are rolling on. I think we have Australia coming up here next year. I think are going to be going on. Canada signed up. They launched earlier this year. But Brazil, so they rolled on, and their campaign is called Pense Aorta, which is Portuguese for Think Aorta. And when they were coming on, it was kind of the height of COVID. And so, like, you can go back and take a look at their situation when they came on. They shared that once they found out that COVID was hitting the heart and the lungs, they were like, if anybody comes in with a COVID situation, let's run a CT scan and see what this disease is doing to people. And they said that they found an alarming number of undiagnosed enlarged aortas in that populace, like 15 to 17%. And you're just like, what now? Like how? Like, what, And so,
if they the shot or anything, the vaccine?
Oh, I don't think it had anything to do with it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, I think that aortic disease, as Karen is very fond of saying, aortic disease is more common than anybody thinks. Right? The dissection is a rare event. It's just rare. But we don't know that much about the genetics. We have people in our group who they have an enlargement one time, they get their blood pressure, they get their medicine situation, and 14 years later, they never have an enlargement, they never have an intervention. It's just a thing that they live with. We have other people who have the dissection, they get the repair, if they have Marfan's or Loeys-Dietz, or they have a connective tissue disorder that they're aware of, and they're going to pay more attention to it. But those people might have further complications. It's all across the gamut, right? On our board of directors, we have Terry. She had her first dissection was a type B, which is in the belly. And then, typically you don't see a second dissection in the ascending aorta, and then bam, that happens. And so she's one of the very few people that have had two on two distinctly different days or eras in two different areas completely. And so, although we know how to solve the problem if we can find it, or how to remediate post surgery and keep things under wraps with blood pressure medications, beta blockers, so on and so forth, we don't know that much more about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So she had it in two different ports on the B section.
Well, her first one was in the B, and then she had to go back in because you get scanned. You're going to get scanned every year, right?
Yeah.
For I don't know, probably several years, but then eventually, and this is a funny thing because this is in the support groups all the time. They'll tell you're graduating to 2-year scans, and everybody who hears that's like, no, I'm not. I'll be here next year. I'm not going 2 years without a scan. Right? So it's like, you could graduate, but no, I'll see you next year. That's a funny joke, doctor. So, everybody takes it very seriously once you know about it. And then, there's the saying that once it's compromised, it's compromised. And so keep an eye on it. Keep your blood pressure where it needs to be. Make sure you're walking. Get plenty of rest. Try not to think down thoughts. Understand that some days are just going to be less energy days. You know?
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
Velda says, you have a good attitude, Kevin, and that is very important. And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, when you showed up with that big old smile and you were like, are we doing this today? I'll go live. I already have a recording. What do you need? I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, because I had did one because I thought when I read the email you said you can go ahead and do the recording, so I just recorded one, and then I was just gonna send it in. I was a little nervous about going live because I know
look how
but
easy this is.
It wasn't that bad. Like I really don't be on social media a lot, but that's what I'm saying. Like I mentioned, my wife told me to go find your group, and it's been a blessing. It's been good.
Yeah.
Y'all, I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua, man. You're a cool dude.
Thanks.
You're a cool dude, man.
People love me all over the world.
It's a good thing, man. Good thing.
You want to do something pretty cool that not a lot of people get to do still?
What's that?
You want to tell these people to like and subscribe?
Hey, like and subscribe to Aortic Hope on all platforms.
Right on. Let's let these people get back to their weekend.
Hey, I appreciate y'all for listening, man. And thanks for letting me share my story.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.